big thank you again for all of you registering early because we had to close it again like last year. And a few thank yous here. Denis Condon here on my right, and to Microsoft for working with us to make today, but also for the use of your premises, which is super. And Denis is the Enterprise Digital Sales Manager for EMEA and based here in Dublin. But Denis will also say a few words later on. Thank you, Denis. As well as Denis, we have a few other speakers, and the purpose of this event really is for you to take away some nuggets at the end of it. And these are customers we work with, and they'll give you their experience, the good and the bad. Like everything, there's bad, but hopefully you'll hear a bit of good as well. And in no particular order, Tim O'Byrne, he's Group CFO of RelateCare. Where are you, Tim? Oh, there you are. Tim came all the way from Waterford this morning. And RelateCare, a very successful company, over 1,100 employees here in Ireland and 300 in the UK. And they're specialists in the healthcare services, outsourcing and services into that sector, with 4 of the top 10 hospitals on their books, just as an idea. We work closely with them as a joint team on the Mother and Baby Institution redress scheme, which was a hot potato politically, had to be delivered quickly, and was really successful. So I think you're going to talk a little bit the experience there. Eamonn here from Independent Trustee Company, also known as ITC, probably for short. It's one of Ireland's largest providers of self-administered pensions, with over 2.5 billion on its books managed, and 6,000 pension structures within that 2.5 billion. And Eamonn is responsible as CIO for all of that. All running on Microsoft technology, and we've been working with you for a good few years. From France, but he's living here in Dublin, Professor Anthony Ventresque. Anthony, where are you? Oh, there you are. Thank you very much for coming in to us. He's Professor of the School of Computer Science and Statistics in Trinity College. And we've been working with Anthony's and his team for probably 2 years now. He heads and set up the Complex Software Lab, which is a fascinating lab looking ahead at where AI is going and what's happening. So he's going to give us some real insights from his perspective and what he and his team are seeing as well. Also, I suppose finally, a thank you to our own team, Jenny, Annette, Pete, Noel, Mo, and a lot of others who have made this day possible. But I suppose to you, I'd encourage you all to talk to each other, because you're all from different businesses. I'm not sure there's key competitors here. Talk to each other, learn from each other. At the end of the day, if you bring one thing away from today, it's well worth coming. So I'll hand you over now to Pete.
I've got my own microphone, Nick. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for coming. It's much appreciated. If I may, I'd like to kick off with a little bit of a personal story. So I suppose, I looked up to my father very much when I was growing up, as we probably all did. And he was an engineer by training. He worked during World War II repairing Spitfires, for example, when they came back all shot up and smashed up. So he was very, very adept at make do and fix and repair type of stuff. And even in his retirement, after being engineer working in multiple factories and large firms, he still set up a little business working out of our kitchen, repairing things like hairdryers for local hairdressers, etc., just to make a few extra pennies and to keep him interested and keep his brain active. He understood mechanics exceptionally well, analog systems, electronics. And I spent many, many happy hours sitting watching him and helping him, as you know, probably getting in the way more realistically. And at one point, a video recorder came into our house. I don't know how he got hold of it, because we certainly didn't have the money to buy a video recorder, but I'm hoping it's one of the electrical shops, the part payment or something. And he set it up, and we had one of these remote controls that had a wire. You click the button to make it work, right? And a TV where you had to go and walk over the TV and press a physical button to change the channels. And he couldn't program it to save his life. He could not set it to record from, say, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. You didn't get to select the channel. You had to select that on the TV, right? So you had to leave the TV set and go away and not watch whatever you're recording. It was a bit of a old setup. But he couldn't do it. And I understood it instantly. I knew exactly what was required to make that video recorder work. And I've been wondering ever since what my video recorder moment would be. Because this was a really intelligent, really practical, hands-on guy who'd spent decades doing really complicated stuff. And this simple thing that I saw defeated him completely. Yesterday, Microsoft announced a new chip called Majorana. And there's a few nods. Some people have heard of it. The vast majority of the world have never heard of this thing. This is a quantum computer on a chip. To create it, they actually created a new quantum particle that doesn't exist in nature, corralled it, created a material out of it, and then created the supporting electronics around it, and took something that would normally be an infrastructure half the size of this room and put it on something, excuse me, that fits on the palm of my hand. Now, the significance of this is completely lost on 99.9% of the entire world. But what this has done is it's jumped quantum computing forward, not just years, but decades. It's broken so many physical boundaries. It's opened up so many possibilities. You now have a 1 million qubit quantum computer capability on a chip in your hand. This is going to utterly transform everything. Every material we use, you'll have self-repairing materials that are damaged, they repair themselves. Drug design, instantaneous drug design. Clearance of microplastics from the seas. We'll be able to create enzymes using this technology that dissolve the microplastics without harming anything else. There are so many possible applications of this that it's just mind-boggling. And I haven't a bloody clue how it works. Right? This is my video recorder moment. Fortunately for you, AI has not yet defeated me, so I'm going to talk on AI. I've been nearly 40 years, I think it's 39 years, building bespoke systems in IT. And for those of you who might think that AI is new, I built for the London Underground back in the late 1980s, early 1990s, a neural network that looked at the images from camera feeds on platforms and told the operators how full the platforms were, and importantly, how quickly they were filling up. So they could tell the guy on the gate at the top, stop letting people in. There's a safety problem going to arise in 5 minutes. Let the people flowing down through the tunnels arrive. They'll be safe, but stop letting people in now. There's traffic control. This is a neural network, a highly advanced AI solution in the late 80s. But I've seen, like most of you in this room probably, I've seen the internet come into creation. I've seen mobile phones arrive and change how we interact, putting compute power and mobility into the hands of people. I've seen the rise of social media. And I have never said wow as much. I said it yesterday when the quantum release came out, but I've never said wow as much as I have in the last 18 months with all the new revisions and capabilities and extensions that have arrived in AI. But with that speed of change comes an amplification of an adoption problem like we'd never had before, right? The internet came, but it was evolved slowly. Niche companies produced websites, browsers started to evolve, companies came along, new generations of HTML created. It took probably a decade to get anywhere where it was really heavily engaged. Social media companies have evolved. Usage of mobile phones have evolved over years. AI's evolved over months. And that creates in itself a massive adoption issue. So what we're going to do, what I'm going to talk about over the next few minutes, is how you deal with that adoption issue, what the best approach is for companies in general. So just to reprise very quickly the timeline, and I'm not going to linger on this, these are quite complicated graphs, and I don't expect you to look at the detail, but essentially, even though I was doing stuff with AI in the 1980s, it dates back, in fact, to the 1950s. So it isn't a new concept, this idea of having AI, artificial intelligence, emulating or even, as we can today, exceed human capabilities in certain things. But what you might not know is that AI met or exceeded the quote-unquote average human performance in these things: handwriting recognition, speech recognition, image recognition, reading comprehension and language understanding, all around the range of 2016, 2018, right? Since then, it's been growing in capability. And it's the combination of gigascale computing, advances in electronics that support it, availability of information on the internet that can be used to train the models, and advanced algorithms that didn't exist previously that have enabled all this to happen. But given this thing is doubling in capability, it's beating Moore's law, it's doubling in capability roughly every 6 months to 12 months, not Moore's law is 18 months. Where is it now, right? So this graph gives you an idea, and I'll explain it very, very quickly. So GPQA test is a test normally given to humans. It's actually a world competition. Experts, PhD level experts and higher in science topics are given a set of 448 questions that are complex questions, not just fact recall questions. They are questions that require reasoning and judgment, not just remembering of facts. It was given to, in this graph, 3 different OpenAI models and benchmarked against the human expert. The human expert's on the side there. The average of the human experts was 69.7%, right? Some did a little bit better, some did a little bit worse, but they're all hovering around 69.7. That's what makes them an expert. O1, which by the way is now 2 generations behind the latest models, which is O3, scored 78 and 78.3. This required AI not just to know things, but to be able to reason about things and to understand the application of those things that it knows, the problems it's never seen before. That's where we're at now, right? AI is not just answering questions like the ChatGPTs of this world. You know, what's the population of China? Bang, comes back with an answer. That's trivial, that's just fact recall, right? That's long gone. It can now use information that it knows, information that it can find, and reason about that information to make judgments and to derive and create new things that it couldn't before, such as answers to incredibly complicated tests. So, apologies to those of you that know the answer, but what makes AI different from quote-unquote normal computer software, other computer software? So it's worth taking a quick look at this because it has some consequences in that difference. On the left-hand side here, as you can see, we have a simple flow chart. It's trying to decide if there are enter 2 different values, which one is larger than the other, okay? The first step compares them and says, if they're equal, you failed the test already, they need to be different. And then it goes down and says, if X is greater than Y, go to the left, and if otherwise, go to the right, okay, and make a pronouncement. You write computer software like that. You write lines of code or build it in whatever system to follow a step-by-step defined process that is well known and understood in advance that will give you, provided you write it correctly, 100% predictability of the outcome, right? And it doesn't matter if the challenge is a simple one like this or a more complex one, the same principles apply in normal software. You have a defined sequence of steps that will get you to an answer. With AI, the world's not like that, because AI solves problems that don't have a known finite sequence of steps that get you to an answer, such as recognizing things in an image or understanding speech, or answering PhD tests, right? So because there's no known finite sequence of tests, of steps that you can take, what we do with AI is we train it. We give it data, we give it scenarios, and we give it feedback. It's very like having a toddler in the car, actually, when you're driving past a field and the toddler shouts sheep, and you go, no, that deer is a cow, right? And the toddler goes, oh, no, okay, I've now seen another example of a cow. And next time you go past, they might yell cow, and you go, no, that's a goat, right? But you're continuously feeding back and refining and continuously giving you the understanding of what it is. And that's what you do with AI. You train it and you feed back. But the consequences of that is it's not seen every possible goat, cow, sheep, right? It can make mistakes. It's not going to be 100% reliable because it doesn't have the step-by-step algorithm. So what does that mean for adoption of AI? Okay. So I see three categories of adoption, and then the red arrows at the bottom. So we've got some types of AI that are embedded and taken for granted. Okay. So people talk to, I won't say the word in case it wakes up a whole bunch of iPhones in the room, but they talk to that genie in the phone. Okay. Some people have Tesla self-driving cars. Sorry about that. You may use automatic email replies, right? And I'm off to Prague at the weekend. My Czech is not very good, to say the least, so I'll be using Microsoft Translate app, etc. These are all AI applications, but nobody thinks of them as AI anymore. They've faded into the background. They've just become kind of normal, right? Talking to the Alexa box in the kitchen, whatever. That's the really, really low-hanging fruit, but it's been adopted. The next layer up is safe. It's new, but it is commoditized. It's well-designed, it's well thought through, it's ethically assessed, it's grounded in good training and good logic, and it is packaged to make it easier for you to use. And that's platforms, and of course, given where we are, the Microsoft platform. On the other side, at the higher end, is getting into designing your own machine learning algorithms and training your own models, even creating your own models from scratch. And in case anybody's wondering, that's real maths. That's actually an activation function or multiple activation functions from a thing called a convolutional neural network. So there you go. Now you know. That's risky territory. That's high risk, high difficulty, but sometimes high payback, but usually for very niche applications and not normally required in a business scenario. A line of business system is highly unlikely to need something like that. So you move to a platform. And the low-hanging fruit is that platform, right? Because by engaging with the platform, you get the AI. You enable it, you package it. Yes, it needs configuration. Yes, it needs some training. And yes, it needs consideration around ethics and so on and so forth. But it is the low-hanging fruit of implementing AI within your organization. Microsoft ecosystem, the AI platform, 18,000 plus patents. Bloody hell, Denis, you do nothing but file patents for this stuff. I mean, 18,000 patents for AI. You're getting the benefit of that, right? LinkedIn, you've got access, obviously, you will know about LinkedIn and the access to the professional network and information about people, so you can train or tailor your communications to what you know about them. Office 365, which we all pretty much use on a daily basis, it's all fully integrated on the same platform as everything else. Dynamics 365. Low-code platform covering most of the needs of any normal line of business application out of the box, and again, fully AI integrated. Power Platform, which is actually what Dynamics 365 is built on in the main, which enables you to build your own applications. Again, infuse them with AI, the commoditized, safe type of AI. Dataverse, where the data is stored from all of these applications, which enables you to have a single version of the truth and a common source of information and control and governance around it. Customer Data Platform, which allows you to generate AI-based insights. And finally, the Azure platform that it all runs on, as it says here, 600 plus services, of which AI machine learning is just one of those services. Interestingly, on the bottom right-hand side of the slide, you can run multiple models. Microsoft have licensed in the AI models from OpenAI, but it's not exclusively OpenAI models. You can bring your own AI model, but you can also choose from a vast catalog of pre-trained models from lots of other vendors as well on this platform, so you're not locked into just those. I want to take a quick mention of data. And on the data side of things, we have Microsoft Fabric and we have Microsoft Purview. Microsoft Fabric is essentially the engine for gathering and managing data, bringing it together, making it accessible for analytics, and for manipulating it and changing formats and sharing it between systems and so on. And Microsoft Purview is the environment in which you manage governance and control and oversight of that data. and be able to see where it came from, where it's going, who has access to it, etc. So just bear those in mind. The reason why that's important is this. Okay, so data underpins almost everything, okay? And you do not want to have the brown, soggy data at the bottom, okay? So that's where Fabric, Purview, etc. comes in. Now, our marketing team have illustrated this perfectly. I'm going to run a quick video here. Runs for about a minute. Sorry, Jenny, I know I'm over time. Okay, so the basic message behind that video, if you hadn't guessed, right, is that AI is leaving the train. The AI train is leaving the station. But you need the easiest way to get on the AI train is to get on a platform, and the easiest platform to get on is the one I just described, the Microsoft Dynamics Power Platform, Analytics, et cetera, right? So that's me. I'd like to welcome Denis. So Denis Condon, Partner Technical Manager from Microsoft. He's going to educate us.
Okay, well, hard to educate you, Peter. Every time I listen to Peter, I learn something. Okay, my name is Denis Condon. Over the next 10 minutes, I'm just going to quickly kind of maybe touch on our whole view of agentic AI inside Microsoft. And again, one of the key things I think that Peter looked at there was we're very much in the world where pace and platform shifts are happening over the last 30 years. In the last 30 years, we moved from client-server, internet, mobile, to cloud. And those platform shifts have happened over a period of time. But now we're going into basically the platform shift that is AI. And the pace is just blistering, okay? It's a speed train. It's so quick. Like we work here in Microsoft, and you think that we've had these tools and we're using them way before everybody else. We're, you know, as a user, I'm at basically the same level as everybody in this room, okay? And I had a Damascus moment maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago when I started basically building an agent to do a lot of the work, questions I get asked all the time. I pulled out all the documents in my email that I'm constantly sending to partners, and I put it into an agent. It answers it perfectly, it creates an email for me, and I send it out, okay? It's saving me about an hour and a half of my day. I'm now getting my team to use it. And I've just come to that moment where I went, wow, these are going to change the way I work, okay? In a big, big way. I need to now start looking at the stuff that I do within my team, even just within my own locus, because I know there's a lot of work that we do is mundane, it's repetitive, and AI changes it. It's like the new Excel. And I know it's very hard to map it to Excel, but you know, if you ever worked in sales or whatever not, and somebody showed you how to use an Excel document, you were like, oh my God, I can do pricing so fast. And it was a kind of a moment where you went, I need to learn Excel. We're now in a place where we need to learn about AI agents because it's changing the way we are going to work. And it's going to change it in a huge way. This has been driven by 3 breakthroughs that we're seeing, okay? You have 3 basically capabilities that are out there, okay, that we're working on, and they're changing very quickly. They are improving in an exponential fashion, and they're advancing with real speed. First of all, it's this universal interface. You think about it, I can put audio, video, text, a lot of stuff, I can put it into a universal interface through Copilot, and it can deal with it and understand it. So it's taking that input, but it can also create and send it back out. That's huge. That intermodal interaction is huge, and it is improving and improving. Like 2 years ago, you know, this would have seemed like magic. Now it's becoming mainstay. And then you have this capability of reasoning and planning, you know, where I have people, processes, and different things like that that are connected to each other, specifically if they're sitting on the Microsoft application platform. And again, that can understand different predictions and sees its processes and understands, oh, I understand there's a pattern there, and define that pattern. And again, then we have this memory and context. We can create a lot of capability around in-memory and then understanding the reasoning behind what we're trying to do. And we're pulling these all together. And these 3 breakthroughs are changing the whole world that we have around AI. In Microsoft, we're building an agentic world, and we just think this is going to be huge, okay? You're going to have personal agents, organizational agents, business process agents, and cross-org agents, and they are going to be sitting on top of the digital infrastructure that we've built and the world that we basically live in at the present moment. At the present moment, these will all work right now across the Microsoft ecosystem and crosses into other ecosystems as well, okay? But it is that shift of how AI is going to change how you do your work, how you do your play, how you live, okay? And anybody that is kind of sitting back and saying, I don't know if this AI stuff is going to take off, go and look at what you do and what you hate most about your job. And there's always something going, oh, I have to do this. It's an hour of my time every month. Try and see if an AI agent will do it for you. It is not rocket science. I wrote that agent for myself. It took me 20 minutes. I spoke to the computer. I didn't even type, and I told it what I wanted. I showed it the content I was using, and there was my bot ready to go, and there was my agent, and it was giving me 100% the right answers all the time. An hour and a half of my time every day, no longer responding to long emails explaining where you can get an incentive if you use BizApps on a CSP contract, you know, on the month of May, or something like that, because it can be quite complex and, you know, quite specific, but be able to grab that information, get the answer, send it back out in an email. I know it sounds simplistic, but it's part of my job that I now have to go, I need to find more high value. I need to turn around to my team and say, do you know what, guys, there's a lot of work that you're doing at the present moment you won't be doing in 6 or 8 months' time. Find the high value stuff. Okay, and that's how much I've changed. We're going to start seeing this in agentic world, and it's moving very quickly. We in Microsoft see as such, you have your user, your business process. Copilot, as such, is the cockpit. It's the UI for AI. Inside of that, then you have Copilot Studios, where you can build out these very simplified apps, okay, or very complex apps, okay? But Copilot Studio is allowing you, the end user, to interface with these agents. And these agents can be, you know, different agents that are looking at different processes. They might be just looking at a very simple ask a question type of thing, or they are going into a much more difficult and more complex business processes. But they also might be interacting back where there's an exception, and they need a human to be involved as well. So you have different bots, but how do they work, and how do you manage them, okay? So Microsoft, we see this as an ecosystem. Copilot is your UI, and then Copilot Studio allows you to build, and then you have this control system underneath managing all of this, because let's be clear, you're going to have some form of governance in place around these AI agents. You know, bad information means bad results, okay? But again, we need to start thinking about this world. The world we exist in at the present moment is going to change quite dramatically from a work perspective because of what's happening here. You see Copilot. You see a Copilot as something that works for yourself, gets you answers. It's augmenting your decisions, augmenting the work that you do. But then, this is where it's going to get really, really clever. You're going to have agents that can work and do work in an autonomous fashion. It's a piece of work that's repetitive. It's very step-orientated, like Peter indicated. It picks up the steps and says, we can do that. And I can do that, and I can do it quite simply. Based on what you're looking at, I have designed it using AI, probably a natural language interface. And again, it's doing the work on behalf of the company. That's saving time then for somebody else to do work that's of high value. And when you start looking at the processes, the simple processes even that I do within my small team, there's a lot of them, okay? And if you can basically get an agent in place to make that work, you're in a very, very good place because that's doing the work for you and you can focus on the high value. There's a spectrum of agents out there. There's the very simple ones, you know, ask it a question and it'll go and get the answer for you and summarize and reason what you're looking for and give you a kind of context around the question that you've asked. There's task-oriented. Again, that's what we're starting to see with the new agents we're presenting that are available in the market at the present moment, and we're very much going towards autonomous. And that's where I'm saying is, again, I built a small bot, an AI agent. I still call them bots. Again, I'm trying to catch up, but an AI agent. I built that. And the one thing I did say to it is, ask me at the end of it, when you've given me the answer and everything like that, do I want it in a format as an email that you'll send into my inbox that I can forward to a partner and have an Irish twang to it, okay? And I don't want, you know, top of the morning type twang to it. But I'm saying that to it. I'm telling it, that's an instruction I'm giving to the agent. I want an Irish kind of, how are you? Or how's it going? Or use some phrase, not top of the morning, because I had to say, do not use American Irish slang, please. You know, go in and tighten up that agent. Very simple to do, but now we're going to get into this world of autonomous. You know, it's going to go, I know what you want me to do. I'm going to get an invoice in. I'm going to maybe process it. I'm going to basically use the AI maybe to augment something inside the CRM. I'm going to do something else, and then you know, there could be a layer of actions that can be put in play here. That's sending off that email. That saves me from cutting and pasting and prepping it in such a way. It's in my email ready for me to send out to the person that asked me. I now need to bring it one step further, which is when it comes into the email, it goes to the bot answers and sends out the message, and I don't have to be involved. I probably still want to read the content I'm sending out to my partner, but that's 2 seconds, as opposed to 15, 20 minutes that used to take me before. Okay, so the one thing that's important, we go into this world, it's very much a changing world. You need to ensure that we basically make AI extremely trustworthy. And Microsoft, we have this concept of trustworthy AI, which is the most important thing for us is we're unlocking human potential. But if we are doing that, we need to do it with trust. And again, we have put a lot of commitments out to the market, and then with the capabilities that we have built with our technology, we are in a situation where we can offer the world of AI and agentic AI to have an impact on your business today. Not tomorrow, today. So, deploy and use agents in any system. That's the direction that we can go right now. Dynamics 365, Microsoft 365, your applications, Power Platform. You can build and customize that, customize your agents to work within these environments. Very simply, you don't need to be a programmer. You basically need to be able to just interact with something to describe what you want, and the chances are it will build it for you and then put it into the applications that you want and leverage the data that's inside in this rich ecosystem. That's me. Welcome to Microsoft, and I hope you'll enjoy the day. Please feel free to meet up with me afterwards and ask us any questions, because I'm looking in and looking out, but I am going, this is going to change the way I work and think. And I didn't think like that maybe 6 months ago, but now I'm convinced of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Denis. That was very interesting. I love it when people give the personal examples of things they're using the agents for, etc. We've got some demos and things to show you later, which will illustrate it nicely, I think. So we're moving on to the customer service segment of the day. And I've got a quick introductory slide. It's a bit wordy. I'm not going to walk through the whole thing, but just try and frame sort of customer service and the challenges that customer services have at the moment. Essentially, it boils down really to two things in the main. One, customers have a much higher expectation from companies these days in terms of the service they're going to receive, and that expectation level is increasing all the time. And two, all companies on this planet are working with limited resources to fulfill those expectations, right? It could be the number of people in their call center, it could be the systems they have, whatever it is, but they all have limitations. So I've called out some practical limitations at the bottom there. I've called out some expectations. Customers want you to meet them where they are and when they are. They want you to have a once and done approach, so they, you value their time and you get the thing done, etc., etc. At the bottom there, all of those things that I'm listing there can be addressed through platform solutions and AI solutions. But no better man, I'm going to introduce Tim O'Byrne, Group Chief Financial Officer for RelateCare. Tim, you're in the hot seat.
Good morning, everybody. So just a bit about myself. I'm the Group CFO of RelateCare, but from an AI and why am I here today from an innovation standpoint, my goal from a C-suite perspective is to drive profitability and report to a board, but also to ensure that we can remain competitive and innovative against our competitors and a changing market environment. So who are RelateCare? RelateCare are a contact center We are rooted in, I suppose, 30 years of experience within Waterford. We're based out of Waterford, and we serve primarily the healthcare sector, both in Ireland and the US, and we also have a number of public sector contracts, as Nick mentioned earlier on, in Ireland. We have a global reach. We've about 1,000 agents in Ireland and a couple of hundred in the US, and we've 20 plus customers, 60 plus contracts, and this piece around insights, as Pete mentioned, is becoming an increasing need and a challenge for us to make sure that we can provide to our customers. Customers are no longer just asking us to handle the calls and deal with the patient needs that we deal with. They're also asking for insights and trends and analytics to drive value and help them drive change themselves within their own systems. And our mission, which is over on the right-hand side of the slide here, is to connect people and our patients with the caregivers at the right time and the right place. And that's all around facilitating patient access as quickly and as efficiently as possible in the hospitals that we work with. So I'm going to speak today about two areas that we've partnered with TEKenable on, two challenges. One is on data and using data to drive insights. And we came up with a term internally within RelateCare around actionable insights. For us, an actionable insight was an insight which was timely, because you need to use data on a timely basis, and it was going to be accurate. And when I joined RelateCare a number of years ago, we had a number of challenges in getting that timeliness right and accuracy right. So we partnered with TEKenable to try and drive that forward. And then separately, as Nick mentioned earlier on, we did partner with TEKenable on an OGP government procurement contract for the design and build of the Mother and Baby Redress Scheme in Ireland here. A very time-sensitive but actually data-sensitive project as well. And I'll give a couple of insights about that. So I won't try and dwell too much on the information that's on the slide here, but effectively this was RelateCare in 2022. We're a mid-sized company. We don't have large resources. We've limited resources like many companies, all companies in effect. And we had, the traditional approach to managing and dealing with data, extracting it from the reporting system, whether that be the management system or our telephony system, dumping it into Excel. And I'm an accountant by trade, so I love Excel. But large arrays of data. And for any of you who don't know anything about a contact center agents are tracked to the second of their life. Rightly or wrongly, but every action that they take is tracked. So we had thousands of elements of data, which were insights and trends that could be used if we could so use them, okay? We have significant reporting obligations through our contracts that we have with customers. We have daily reports, weekly reports, and monthly reports that we need to send out. And as a result of the manual effort, we had a number of people who were essentially data extractors, but not analysts. They were just dumping data, extracting and consolidating data and sending it out to customers. No real insights. That's the state of play as it was in 22, as I said, daily, weekly, monthly, and 4 FTE equivalent involved in that process. The initial process flow, just try to kind of give a view as to, I suppose, what we were doing, and I've kind of overlaid it already, but in effect, all that was manual. So extracting the information out, consolidating the data, as I said, thousands of rows of data, different reports. You can see the risk of error and the risk of things not getting sent out on time to customers. And we were sending it out via email with very little important, valuable pieces of information to give to our customers. There is a second user of this data. The second user of this data is actually internally within RelateCare. So our operational teams would use this data to understand how their teams are performing. So as any of you all know, when you're trying to manage a team of 5 people, it can be challenging sometimes to understand how to get the best out of them. Try doing that with 1,100 people. It can be more and more challenging. So before we came to TEKenable, we did start a journey of progress ourselves, and we did make progress. We tried to understand our data, how our data was aggregated. We gained some expertise in Power BI, but ultimately we had significant challenges in making progress. And when I say on here on the screen here around progress is hard fought, it was almost like that that saying, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. We were making an improvement in one report and it would break another report. Sometimes we come in and our Power BI visualizations would have just stopped. They just broke and they weren't working effectively. So we really needed to think kind of forward and strategically to try and put in place a plan which would meet our needs now, but would also allow us to try and have a longer term view of using data and data more effectively. So we came to a decision point essentially. You know, do we persist with the status quo, or do we try and go to market and try and find a partner, and a true partner that we can work with, who will listen to our needs and who will help us drive forward, not just on the current problem statement that we had, but also trying building out our data capabilities. We ran an RFP process. We spoke to a number of parties in both the US and Ireland, and TEKenable were the successful party in the RFP. And there was a couple of reasons for that. I'm conscious I am here at a TEKenable event, so I won't get too salesy, okay? But in effect, from our perspective, we were looking for a very strong partner. We don't have the technical expertise in this area. Our focus as a business is on being a service provider. The customer voice, the empathy, that's what we're focused in on driving. And while we have, you know, a growing expertise in this, it wasn't our core forte, okay? So we had worked with TEKenable on that aforementioned project that Nick mentioned, that I'll touch on later on. We knew they were good guys to work with on that. They were very client-focused in the approach, and that was a kind of a real standing out versus some other parties that we work with. They really, really listened to what our problems were now, and they really, really listened to kind of, you know, what was driving and tried to understand what was driving those challenges that we had. And what I really liked, and I don't know, Mo is there, Mo challenged us. Mo challenged me in my way of thinking, and that's always a good sign of a good partner in terms of they're not just accepting what you're saying, and they're not just saying, right, okay, Tim wants this or RelateCare want that, let's just go with it. They're also trying to challenge you and say, I know you said you want this, but have you thought about, you know, it flowing in a different way? And it was that real kind of open mindset of challenge, which I found was very valuable for us. They were flexible in their approach, and again, I know we speak about agile and waterfall and so on, but they were very flexible in their approach that they could realize that RelateCare is working like all businesses in a very dynamic environment right now. The pace of change is happening means that we have to pivot. Often, what our plan for 6 weeks was in terms of our data, we might have to plan to something else. So they were able to put forward a very flexible approach. And lastly, and I'm not going to try and butcher Fabric and my understanding of Fabric, because Pete will probably come over here and tell me I don't know enough about it, but Fabric was a real game changer for us. Okay, it allowed us, this idea of this one platform was very, very interesting for us. Previous partner had said, okay, we'll put your data over here in a warehouse, and then you can bring it over here in another application, and then you can push it into Power BI. And you know, from a non-technical standpoint, when you're trying to understand how that all flows from a business perspective, it just becomes complicated. You become over-reliant on your partner. Fabric allowed us to try and understand everything would be under one roof, on one platform. It meant that as we were looking to grow and add other things and other layers of data into our systems as we go forward, it would all be under one roof. And that meant, from a benefits perspective for RelateCare, that we would have a flexible and scalable model. We would have a model that would be cost effective. You know, you pick your SKU and you know, you make sure that you have enough data consumption, but we haven't had any bill shock to date. And that was a big thing for me from a finance perspective. You're working in a new area, you don't want bill shock from a finance perspective. It had real-time capabilities. We have a growing need from our customers to actually present data on a real-time basis around our performance in the contact center. So we've been working with TEKenable, and only as recently as this week have we actually deployed the real-time capabilities within our contact center and available to customers as well. And that point around it's on one platform and integrating into the Microsoft suite was very important for us too. So again, this slide, very briefly, just trying to illustrate Power BI integration as the visualization tool, Synapse, the future potential around advanced data analytics for us can be very, very powerful, and the overall integration points were key determining factors in us choosing TEKenable. So where are we now? And working with TEKenable over the last 5 to 6 months on this project, we've managed to, in effect, transform our process. We've managed to, the top part of the screen is the new process, the bottom part is obviously the old. The first 4 steps along the way, we fully automated. We have no human in the loop there at all in terms of extracting the data, pushing it into our system, transforming the data. The dashboards work. You can drill down, you can get great insights from them, and they don't break. And one really important thing for us is because we have that second user, which is the internal contact center operations, we have data that's now being refreshed on these reports every 30 minutes. So that means, in effect, from our perspective, our internal operations have near real-time information. They understand performance, every 30 minutes in the contact center. And what that means for us is that we can make decisions on a daily basis and be proactive around the performance in the day. We're not reacting to what happened yesterday or last week or last month. The last area is we are now in the process of deploying RPA technology and bots to actually send out that last piece of information to client reporting out to customers. And that will be deployed over the next couple of weeks, which again is something we're very excited about. A couple of enablers which Fabric will drive. We are now looking at the next stage of our journey on data. We are going to bring in other layers of information which will all sit within Fabric, build out personalized exec dashboards and for senior management to allow them to see what's important to them in real time and near time. And I suppose the ultimate goal here is that it has allowed us at this stage of our journey to have actionable insights and have actionable insights at scale. And that's what's been the key driver and key success point from RelateCare on this part of the journey. I'll briefly just touch on OCR technology and the project that Nick mentioned around with the Department of Children. We were asked to tender for a government contract in 2022. Time sensitive in terms of it had to be set up quite quickly, very short time span. Very sensitive in terms of data. It's a redress screen for mother and baby. The applicants would be people who have spent time in these institutions a long number of years ago. There's a real focus around protecting the data, protecting the confidentiality of the applicant. And, while RelateCare, we would express, I suppose, our success in managing customer service and empathy and being service providers, we have no experience in building CRMs, no experience in deploying kind of technologies as part of that as well. So we needed a partner. We met with Nick and team, and we put forward a kind of a joint bid together. In doing so, we were able to essentially align the set of responsibilities where we would handle the service and the mapping out of what the system should be able to do, but TEKenable could build and design the CRM and all-encompassing technologies with it. Challenges were significant on this project, time span, as we mentioned, data security and privacy, but also the applicant journey would either happen online, and now given the age profile of some of the applicants, 80 plus, the majority of applications would come in handwriting in an application form. So trying to manage that and that information being transposed into a CRM is fraught with challenges, because as you'd imagine, if you have a 12-page application, 10,000 applications a year, that's 120,000 pages, hundreds of data points on those 12 pages, the risk of error is very, very high. So working with TEKenable, Tech were able to put forward OCR technology, again, which I had used from a finance perspective in using and pushing forward OCR tech for AP invoices. But we were able to build a system which effectively reads the application form, pushes the data into the CRM without the need for a human in the loop, effectively significantly de-risking the risk of data breaches or confidentiality breaches overall within the organization. My one maybe thing to say to you guys today is we recognize our limitations, and I think it's okay for everybody in the room to kind of say, if you're not a tech expert, to realize, right, I'm going to have to get support elsewhere. The most important thing is to find the right partner. We were lucky, we found TEKenable to be the right partner for us. We were service experts, not tech experts. We didn't know a lot about data, and we didn't know a lot about OCR. We were lucky we found tech in that space. The output and the end. It allowed us effectively to deliver automated data capture. 120 pages of data have been captured over the last year with this OCR technology. The CRM is working very effectively. Our customer is very, very happy with our approach. We've significantly de-risked and enhanced the security attached to this. We have a scalable platform that if more applications come in, we don't have to throw more heads or bums on seats at it. And effectively, we've delivered an efficient service to our end customer. And that has led to an overall satisfaction for us. I think that's me.
By the way, the service that we used is Azure's AI cognitive services and the vision models that Microsoft has built and deployed to actually extract the content out of the actual documents that were being scanned. We're just going to show a quick video recording I did in a previous event just to illustrate the capabilities of Copilot within the CRM's customer service product in Dynamics 365, just to kind of show you what's possible with the data that's in there. So let me just play that. Here is a customer service. So, you've got a lot of information. The customer went through the marketing journey. They went through the sales journey. They have products. They raised different issues with them. You've been running Dynamics 365. You've built up a knowledge base. So now, as a customer service agent, I come into dashboard and I look at this case, start of my shift, I open this up. So this is a case as a result of customer service request. I go in, I can see there's a mineral buildup problem in this coffee machine that we've sold, Claudia. But there's a lot of data points across multiple tabs. And how do I kind of get a real picture here? Lots of interactions, emails back and forth. My colleagues have been talking to her. They're on holiday now. So I click on that. Copilot quickly summarizes all of this information, and it grounds a response that is relevant. So you can read this and understand what the current state is, and if there's anything promised to the customer or not around this. So again, very, very effective. It would take you 10, 15 minutes to kind of get your bearings switching between cases. This short circuits that. I can open up my Copilot, okay, and I'm kind of figuring out how I can help Claudia. So before I even clicked on it, Copilot has figured out that there's a problem with her machine. It figured out what the product was, and it's giving me a prompt, which I was going to actually type. It's actually giving me that potential question I can ask is, how do I help her? So I'll click on that prompt. I'll take the offer up. So what it's going to do is it's going to look at everything in our knowledge base to see is there any way that we have recorded how these issues can be resolved typically. So over time, you'll build up a knowledge base. You can point it to up to 5 existing knowledge websites if you have them, or knowledge kind of wikis that you have in your organization. And there's a built-in knowledge base actually inside the product itself. So it's actually given me instructions of how to help her. I can even see the sources where the information was pulled. There actually is a knowledge article there. I think I'm going to respond to Claudia with an email. So I go in to email, and Copilot immediately loads up. The email interface comes in. So I can use Copilot by giving it instructions here. It'll help me write the email if it's kind of, I want to come up with it from scratch. But it also gives me some helpful prompts. I can describe what I want. But what I actually want to do is just give the customer instructions to resolve their problem. So I'll take up its offer and use one of the pre-built prompts there. And it's going to go off and read, obviously, the content it has access to, but it knows that it's writing an email. So it formats a nice email for me. It gives all the niceties. It actually pulls that information that we looked at in the knowledge article in line in the email. And it does a very nice job of kind of giving me a good starting point. Now I can see the sources it's pulled that information from again, just to make sure. I can actually adjust the tone. Maybe actually that's too long. I just want to be more succinct. So I go short. Again, I go update. It'll regenerate now, and it'll give me a shorter version of the email previously generated. I think that's a good point. I just want to be very, very succinct. So I just go copy, and it'll actually copy the email into the body. I can further modify it, or I can just run with it as it is. And that email will be recorded as a response on the case, and it'll feed into the next summary. And then my colleague in the next shift who picks up on this knows exactly where he left off. So that's an example, again, of how AI, and this experience, by the way, is built into the omni-channel chat interface, as we described earlier. So if you're chatting with 4 or 5 customers simultaneously as an agent, AI is looking at everything that's being discussed and giving you these responses from within the case and from within your knowledge. That's it. Hopefully my face there wasn't hiding too much of the Copilot. We're just going to look at another demo. So this is like almost preview technology. So I don't know if any of you have used ChatGPT or the paid versions, but Pete, do you want to kind of set this up? This is your recording, yeah.
Just to set the context for this, we have a product called Chat with Your Documents built on the Microsoft AI frameworks that takes a set of curated documentation. It could be 10 documents, it could be 1 million documents, it doesn't really matter what the scale is, that are authoritative about a particular topic. And it uses those documents then as its data source, like it were a structured database, but it's reading that documentation. The difference between this and some of the other products you might see is none of that ever leaves the security boundary of your organization. So they can be quite confidential documents to your organization, but they stay within your Office 365 Azure environment. They never go anywhere else. So that comes in multiple forms. On one of those, which is what we're about to show you, and this is literally just a proof of concept demo. It's not in real production yet, but it'll give you an idea, is the ability to have an interactive voice conversation with a customer service agent of the future, where that agent the AI is trained on the exact same content as a human agent would be in their training courses, etc., for learning the topic that they would discuss. And it can be trained on much, much more than a human can absorb. So let's have a look at it.
What's probably coming down the line faster than most people think is the ability for human beings to have an interaction with a customer service AI that is able to talk to you and even be somewhat empathetic. So we've created an example here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a conversation with it and show you what I mean. But here we go. I'm not feeling very good today. Just found out I had a health problem. Can you help me?
I'm sorry to hear you're not feeling well. I can provide general information or help you find resources, but it's important to consult with a healthcare professional for personal.
Okay. Can you tell me what's included in the HealthWind Plus plan that is not included in Standard?
The HealthWin Plus plan includes coverage for preventive care services like routine physicals, vaccinations, and screenings, and also provides comprehensive coverage for skilled nursing facility services and
That's very good. What about hearing? Have we got any cover for hearing?
Yes, the HealthWin Plus plan includes coverage for hearing care services such as hearing tests, evaluations, hearing aids, and associated
That's
services.
great. What's the cost of the Health Plan Plus?
The specific cost of the HealthWin Plus plan isn't provided in the available information. The cost may depend on your plan type, the services you use, and the providers you visit.
Okay, I'm feeling much better.
I'm glad to hear that.
You can see that it's providing some appropriate type of responses back to me, the somewhat depressed caller. And we can ask it other things as well, and we can ask it to just continue with what perks does the company offer?
The company offers perks like vacation benefits, health and wellness stipends, and the Perks Plus program, which allows employees to expense up to $1,000 for fitness-related programs like gym memberships, personal training,
Oh,
yoga classes,
can
fitness.
I pay for my own gym and get reimbursed, or do I have to use a company gym?
You can pay for your own gym and get reimbursed through the Perks Plus program.
Okay, I've got my advisor sitting next to me here, and she's actually a native French speaker. Can you explain that to her, and please, in French?
Le programme Perks Plus vous permet de payer votre propre abonnement à la salle de sport et d'être remboursé. Vous pouvez dépenser jusqu'à $1,000.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And there you go. The
Hopefully that
AI
gives you an
customer service assistant of the future with empathy and the ability to a degree to understand and interpret human emotion.
That's a new experience for me. I'm talking over myself.